now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door takes on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess featuring a bonus pin-up and the other two books in the Cyber Goddess saga at online bookstores everywhere today. I got a chance to take a look at the Shang and the Legend of the Ten Rings trailer. And there was a lot I really liked about this trailer. And the first thing I really liked about this trailer was the fact that it did not look or feel like an MCU movie. It felt like a completely original concept, and that's a really risky thing to do with a superhero movie, is go in a completely different direction, because it can either go very good or it can go very bad. Now, when I look at Shang-Chi, it is not going Batman and Robin bad as related to deviating from the source material. It's looking more like Blade from 1998. Now, if anybody remembers Blade from 1998, Blade was basically Wesley Snipes reinventing the character to fit what he wanted the character to be in his adaptation. And with that reinvention, we got a complete redefinition of Blade, and it looks like we're getting a complete redefinition of what Shang-Chi is supposed to be in Shang-Chi, Legend of the Ten Rings. So with this new movie, it looks like we're getting a completely new take on the character and a completely new take on the character's story. So instead of us getting something that is very straight out of the comics, what we're getting is something very unique, something very original, and something that looks very promising overall. So when I look at this film, Shang-Chi's Legends of the Ten Rings trailer, there was a lot to really be impressed with this film. And what was first really impressive to me with this trailer was the cinematography. I mean, the cinematography in this film is absolutely fantastic. The visuals are incredibly strong, and you get some very powerful images on screen that don't look like they are overloaded with special effects. Because one of the problems I had with later MCU films is that they oftentimes felt like they came off an assembly line. And that was a big problem with every film after Captain America Civil War. They felt like they all were practically the same. They all practically felt like they had the same story, and they practically all felt like they had the same visual effects. Now, for some people, that would be considered somewhat consistent, but as I see it, it was just feeling very bland and very generic. So, Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings feels like a breath of fresh air with a completely different visual style, and that's something I really liked about what I saw in the trailer for this movie, was that the visuals were a lot different. We saw a bigger and grander style of vision, but we saw a fresh perspective, and this is something that is desperately needed in an MCU that has gotten, as I saw it, extremely stale, extremely bland, and extremely uninspired when I look at movies like Black Widow and Eternals, which really they felt really uninspired as related to their visuals, and they felt like they were just off a cookie cutter. But this one feels very different, and it's like a really, again, unique and fresh take on your martial arts movies, and that's something that I really would be interested in seeing, because when it comes down, we haven't had a really good martial arts superhero project. I mean, when I look at Iron Fist, this is what Iron Fist should have been. Iron Fist should have been big fights, big action sequences, but Netflix didn't give us that. And thankfully, Shang-Chi is giving us what we wanted, these big, epic martial arts sequences that showcase the character's martial arts skills and martial arts abilities, and also takes us into the character's origin. Now, in addition to showing us great visuals and really showing us some great fight choreography scenes, we also get a unique take on the Shang-Chi character that is very different than the comics. And in this version, it looks like we're getting a brand new villain, and this is a villain that was featured in a lot of Iron Man comics back in the day, but is now being adapted to be a Shang-Chi arch enemy. Now, many Iron Man fans like myself know that the Mandarin was Iron Man's big lead villain, and he had that position for many years until David Michelinie decided that Justin Hammer would take that position as the lead villain. And the Mandarin, ever since David Michelinie decided to stop using him as the main villain, has practically fell off, and he hasn't really been as utilized as he has been before. But here, it looks like they're trying to reinvent the Mandarin character and use him in a completely different fashion. And I really like this reinterpretation of the Mandarin, because the original take on him was very racist and stereotypical, and efforts to try to revive this character have faltered. I mean, David Michelinie did try to fix him in the second run of Iron Man, but it just never really took. I mean, I like that version of the Mandarin, and it looks like they're taking a few pages from David Michelinie's original, revamped Mandarin and making it a bit more contemporary. And I like this reinterpretation of the Mandarin being a high-profile Chinese administrator or executive, and he's got a son, and he wants his son to take on his footsteps. And it looks like this is the big story between them, and it's a very interesting take on a father-son relationship, and it really looks like a very interesting story from the teaser overall. And it looks like a way that they have really revived this character and practically taken this stereotypical character who came out in the 60s and made him fresh and contemporary for the 2020s and made him into a real serious threat. They've changed his 10 rings into 10 bracer bands, and it looks like they have made him into a really formidable threat in this series. So this 10 rings it looks very interesting. It looks like a pretty solid film, and it looks like something similar to what they did with Blade in 1998. And if we all remember, Blade was the film that practically saved the whole superhero movie genre, but this one may practically open it up, the superhero movie genre, for Marvel Studios with China, and it looks like they have done a film that would be appealing to not only American audiences, but will also be very appealing to Chinese audiences, and one that does not feature a bunch of stereotypes. We get a lot of very balanced, positive presentations of Asian characters, and we get really multi-dimensional portrayals of Asian characters and Asian culture. So this trailer looks like a really solid step for Marvel Studios, which, as I see it, has practically been struggling as related to its direction. I mean, when I look at the MCU as of late, a lot of the films, they really were looking weak. Your Eternals, your Black Widow, your Captain Marvel 2. But this one looks very strong, but I'd have to wait until the whole film comes out. But this whole trailer really looks promising from what I see so far. I had originally, when I first thought I saw it, it was like, look somewhat on it, like the whole story looked kind of weak. But after looking at the trailer for a second time, I look at the story and the way they've really reinvented a lot of these characters like Shang-Chi from the Master of Kung Fu and the Mandarin, and they've really, again, really done a solid job on these characters in presenting them. So this is a film I would really go out here and take a look at if these theaters do open up here in New York City. This is a film that I would probably go out here and pay for a movie ticket for. I mean, this one looks pretty good, and it looks like it's going to, again, to take some elements from more modern martial arts films like IP Man and other modern martial artists like Jet Li and Jackie Chan, and also captures a little bit of a spirit, but it also takes another step towards that deviation. That's one of the things that concerns me, because a lot of the deviation that's took us down the Batman and Robin road, but this is looking a Blade style reinvention that will make the character fresh for a new generation of fans all over the world. Now, if you want to try my first comic, Esteem No Good Deed, you can find it on Kindle for 99 cents by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to see me make more videos reviewing MCU movies or comic books, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers in 2021, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. The man who rules the world breaks on a brand new partner to help him take care of business in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Taking Care of Business in 2021 at online booksellers everywhere.